Today I'm going to just do. So last week I was looking at sort of summer trees, and that's the sort of demo. I think that's the one I did in this class. So they were the sort of demos we did last week. Look at greens. I thought this week I would try some winter trees. So that's what I'm going to do today. I brought this one in just as an example, just to show you that one. So that was one I did a few years ago, and I did this from a bit of a mixture of a little plein air painting sketch I did on the site, and then some photos as well. So that's that one. The other thing I just want to remind anybody who's interested in the afternoon class, that will start next week, just as a quick reminder. Right, so yeah, so I thought I'd use this one, which is very similar photo to, this is more kind of spring, it's the same tree as my example. A spring version, but there's not really any leaves on the tree yet, so it's the same sort of thing. I think with something like this, I'm trying to think how I probably painted that one, but I'm inclined to start with just getting some tree trunk in. But I probably would start with, get some of the twigs on that as well fairly early on. So if I just get the main, I'll just add a little bit of medium to this. This board I've tried a little bit of texture on here. So it comes out a little bit, it's quite good for dry brush, let's say. So you get these slightly grainy marks, which might be quite nice for tree textures. So this is just a filbert brush that's really worn down, but that helps me to get some of these thinner marks. And then I think to get some of these thin twigs, the options are to either work in a very dry brush way, or you could use, I'm just looking for a rigger actually, you could use a rigger for some of it. Oh, well, that'll do, that's thin enough. Yeah, so work in dry brush. I've mixed up a few greys just down here. So a smallish brush, and just kind of working, and this is where having a slightly textured board might help, because you're kind of picking up some of the texture of the board, and that could give an impression of small twigs and leaves. I've mixed a couple of different greys, because sometimes it can be, sometimes it's nice to just vary it a little bit. So I've got a slightly greeny grey here. So in this case, you like pre-paint your sky, perhaps let it dry, and work like that. On my painting, I'm not sure that I did that. I think I probably did work wet and wet, so I'll do another little bit wet. So if you had some sky here that was wet, which I think is that brush, I'm just doing a little bit of experimenting before we started. So just put a bit of blue down there, just so that it's a wet surface really that I'm working into. You then be able to see the difference working over a dry surface or a wet surface. So you see, you get this slightly softer look. I think I probably prefer that actually. So yeah, it's really sort of take your pick, and a little bit darker here. So it's really an impressionistic look, sort of twigs in the distance, rather than try and paint every single one, which you're not going to see at that sort of distance anyway. And then you've got, with the working into the wet, you've got a chance to soften out the marks a little bit if that's overdone, work it back. And then, as I say, the other option is a rigger brush. Here we go. It's a rigger, which might be good for little thin twigs. I wouldn't try and do this sort of thing with the rigger particularly. I can just try a tiny bit. Hiya.
Sorry, is it oils, Paul?
It is oils, yeah. Just because I had the oils there.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Don't you barking? Go Dick. Yeah, so that's quite nice for the odd twigs and branches. Yeah. So, and again, working into a wet surface, particularly with thin lines, it's much easier. Did that over dry. Well, that's not too bad actually, because it's probably quite fluid paint. but you can get that grainy look. So yeah, that's where a rigger can be quite nice. You just got to be careful you don't go too heavy-handed. Okay.
So how did you make up the grey? What colours did you?
So the greys I've made, I started with ultramarine and brown,
Right.
so that got me that, and then some white, and then some I just tried to make them a bit pinkier, so I've added a little bit of magenta to them.
Okay.
So that was that one there. I'll kind of, they probably could be a little bit more exaggerated, to be honest. Once they go on, they don't look that different. But they look more different on the palette. And then the other one I put a bit of ceruleum in to make it a little bit bluer.
Okay.
So they're the variations.
Okay. Cheers.
Hopefully, yeah. Because I think with grey paintings, you kind of want to make them look grey, but you want them to sort of have a liveliness.
Yeah,
I don't really
yeah.
want to create a dull painting, which
Yeah.
quite often I found my paintings, I look at them later and they just look dull. So I think I need
I'm
to
sure
sort
they
of
don't,
soup
but
up.
yeah.
Soup
I know
up
what
the
you mean, yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Need a bit of warmth in the grey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. Cool colour. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay, let me get